Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining Encinitas Viewpoint. Good to see everyone again. If you're new, welcome. And just remember, we're here Thursday nights at 6 o'clock up until November 3rd. Tonight is all about you with Q&A, but we're going to start, and I'm Cindy Cremona, by the way, your moderator. But we are going to start with Julie, Susan, and Alex. They've got a few words to share with you. Julie, you're up.
Oh, I just want to say hi to everybody. Thanks for coming. My name is Julie Thunder. I'm running for mayor, challenging the incumbent. I'm an independent, and let's get on with the show. Susan and Alex, you're up.
I'll go next. I'm Susan Turney. I'm running for District 2 against appointed incumbent Kelly Hensey.
Hi, I'm Alex Riley. Thanks for coming to watch tonight. I think it's great everyone's participating any way we can with these Zoom meetings. And once again, thanks for tuning in and looking forward to hearing some people's questions later today.
Cool.
Thanks, guys. Before we start with Q&A, does anyone have anything special to share? There's been a lot of activity this week, lots of stuff going on. Susan, I think you might.
Sure. So just a couple of things. I just sent out a newsletter. I hope some of you saw that. I kind of had fun with the title, When Second Place is the Best Place to Be. And it was about fundraising between myself and my opponent and the sources of the donations. And hers included 10 developers, some of whom are on the own Measure U parcels. And this is money that I would never take, and frankly, I would not expect it to be offered to me either. The other thing I wanted to say briefly, and this is really great news for California, is a third bad housing bill. This is an affordable housing bill designed to take away local control. And it would have upzoned any parcel in the state to 10 units per acre, no matter what the underlying zoning was. And the only provision was that the parcel be near jobs-rich or transit-rich transportation in an area that's either jobs or transit rich. And the state would actually decide whether the parcel was near transit or not. And so that bill, authored by San Diego Tony Atkins, was defeated. And it was defeated because of the efforts of a group called Livable California. It's a coalition of cities up and down the state. Julie, Alex, and I are all members. And it shows that we can do something to untie our hands and keep local control.
That's a great announcement, Susan. I was thrilled to hear. That's of the 9 bad bills that were coming down from the legislature, by the way, which makes what we're going through in Encinitas look like a cakewalk compared to what will happen to us if these bills pass. Of the 9 bad ones, that's 3 down. So there's a group fighting really, really, really hard on behalf of us and everybody in California to keep this from happening. So that's great. Alex, what was your week like?
Well, there's good local news as well. If you watched last night's Zoom, the city council backed up our planning commission, and for now, Surfers Point is kind of out of the frying pan for now, but that doesn't mean the developer can't come back. We're lucky more people know about it, and that's the best thing possible. And some benefactors have come forward possibly to donate a large sum, $100,000, to start chipping in to possibly preserve the land once and for all. I think that would be amazing considering where it's located near the lagoon. And it does have a lot of parallels to the Harbaugh Trail in Solana Beach. So I hope we can get the word out and come up with a creative solution.
Yes, and I thank Julie for being in contact with that $100,000 potential donor. I think that's awesome.
That very generous, very sweet person is on the call tonight. I see his name, but I will only let him come forward if he wants to. I'll just tell you his story. He has an awesome chocolate lab that's pretty elderly now and he can't walk that far. So he drives his dog down to Harbaugh Trails. I don't think he goes every morning. You can correct me if you want to come on the call. But he saw my post about Save Surfers Point, that Alex and I were kind of like tag teaming doing the same post. I'm in Cardiff and Alex is on North Acadia, so we don't see each other's. Anyways, this person saw my post and called me the other morning and goes, I couldn't sleep all night. I figured out what to do. So he pledged $100,000. And with that money, of course, that's not enough money to buy it. Of course, it's not enough money to do very much, but it's a lot of money. And by having a pot of cash like that, it's much more attractive to a nonprofit conservatorship like Harbaugh or the Nature Conservancy to come in and help out. That's when you get their eyes on a piece of property like that, is when you already have some money started. So, yay, good job, Alex. That was really cool.
Yes, very good news. All
Before
right,
we
so
start the Q&A. Oh, can I go? Is that right, Cindy?
yeah, you could go, of course.
Before I start the Q&A, I wanted to share with somebody. Some of you may have seen in the papers that Coronado is about to file a lawsuit against Sandag, our county agency. Now, our housing numbers that are the biggest thing in Encinitas, frankly, all these new multi-density units, the housing numbers that each city had to take came from a committee on Sandag called the RENA Subcommittee. The RENA Subcommittee is chaired by our own mayor, Catherine Blakespear. That committee created a new methodology to come up with even more numbers for each city in the county than we had to take. And what happened is once they came up with the numbers, I'm looking for my notes, they had to put it up to a vote of the Sandag board. The Sandag board has 19 members. Of the 19 members, only 5 supported the higher housing numbers. This is going to affect Encinitas a lot because we're getting a whole new set of numbers. And as Susan recently proved, we're not good for the 6th cycle. We're going to have to pick more lots to be upzoned. So the city of Coronado, their numbers are so egregious and so unattainable, they're now suing Sandag over the actions of the subcommittee chaired by the mayor of Encinitas. Only 5 cities supported these new numbers. So our mayor sided with San Diego, Chula Vista, National City, and Del Mar. All the other cities were against it, begged her and the other mayors not to do it, but they wouldn't listen. So that's just a tiny part of the story. There's more to it, but I think it's important to know we have lawsuits in Encinitas. We have way more than our fair share for our size of city. And there's several that have happened in the last 2 and 4 years since we've had this council and this mayor. And now Sandag is experiencing the same. They have a lawsuit brought on by our mayor on the committee she chaired. So that's it. I'll be writing more about that in the future.
Outstanding. Are we ready to go to Q&A?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, I just sent in chat a note that I'm not sure how many folks are on mobile because I see a lot of names and I can't tell how you are dialed in, but if you're using your computer and you'd like me to unmic you, if you'd raise your hand using the button on your screen, I will do that. Otherwise, if you want to ask your question through chat, if that's better for you, I'll read your question. So ask away, the mic is now yours. Any takers?
It looks like Neil has his hand up.
All right, where is Neil?
I can unmute myself, it looks like.
Yes, go for it. Yeah, you are unmuted.
Yeah, thank you.
I see you there. There you go.
Well, obviously we're in election season, which of course in the United States never ends, but we're in the home stretch. And I'd like to ask all of our 3 candidates, Julie, Alex, and Susan, since you're going to be doing this a lot in the next couple of months, it wouldn't hurt to refine your pitch. Give us all a brief synopsis of why you're running and help us understand your perspective, if you could. Brief, whatever you want.
That's funny, Neil, because one of our team in the background who helps advise us with this show actually said, quit being so formal about why you're running. Lighten it up a little bit. So, but I'll start. I'm running because I see these housing mandates about to destroy our town. And I am you, I think. I don't know you, Neil. I haven't met you, but I assume you're probably someone who maybe bought a house here or pays a lot to rent here because you like it here. It costs a lot. It takes a big chunk of our money every month to be able to stay here. But I have my piece of the pie and I don't want to give it up. I have family members and friends who have left the state because of what's happening in California. And I don't want to do that. It's beautiful here. I would rather stay and fight than run away. So I see what's happening in Encinitas with the high density. Each of these 15 units come with no traffic upgrades, no extra money for schools until their property taxes kick in and start paying, no environmental studies, and it didn't have to happen this way. Now we have lawsuits. We have lawsuits from the Olivenhain project. We have lawsuits from the changes on South Coast Highway 101. We have a lawsuit coming from the Anita Pupping ordeal. I just read about that today and I'm still learning about it. And we have a lawsuit from Surfing Madonna. None of those had to happen. The housing is the worst, but I just decided to jump in and give it a shot. That's me. Thank you.
We'll go next. Susan Turney, so I'm in District 2, and which used to be Leucadia, and now that we're redistricted, it still is on the Planning Commission. Anyway, I'm west all the way to the ocean, and then the northern border is Leucadia, and then down to Santa Fe Drive and east from there in a kind of wiggly fashion. I'm running because I decided that it was time to do something more official with my advocacy. I've been working in Encinitas on the side of residents over 15 years, kind of going where needed, learning about the code, learning about issues downtown with vibrancy and over-serving and what the people down there deal with, all the way up to Beacon's Beach with the, what the surfers have been dealing with the, I don't know if you heard about the Las Vegas staircase. Anyway, just basically on the side of residents, wanting to keep the special interests not as primary stakeholders in our town. I see a lot of outside interests being served before residents and really making our processes very transparent. There are a lot of meetings that go into closed session that do not require closed session. And it seems to me that lately we're seeing what appear to be a lot of predetermined decisions made before people have an opportunity to be persuasive and explain their point of view. So I just feel like the time is right.
Yeah, well, I was a longtime ocean lifeguard at the city of San Diego. And the reason I got into that as a big part was to help people. And when I moved up here, I got that kind of cold splash in the face of the developments that were heading into our neighborhoods. And I started to, my eyes were opened. And I feel like I have an opportunity to help start fixing things in this city that need being fixed and represent the people, and really just kind of continue with the public service I started over 20 years ago. And you can't just shout from the sidelines. You got to get in and really take part.
Thank you, guys.
Sure.
Thanks.
Thanks, Neil.
Thanks, Neil. Okay, I am going to go to John Eldon, who I'm going to, I think you're unmuted, John.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
I can self-unmute too, so we got the magic button. Anyway, thank you, all three of you. One of the most important things, what I put in the chat here, was that SB 1150 just passed Assembly appropriations, so it goes to the whole Assembly floor next week. And Tasha has been one of the stalwart opponents on this, and I keep congratulating her, and I keep trying to find friends for her in the Assembly. But one of my big issues is, since the state's trying to ram all this statewide one-size-fits-all control over all the cities, it's incumbent on city and county representatives to push back hard. And I sense, of course, obviously the three of you are willing to do that. And that's one of the major motivations I have, because just like you guys, well, in my case, we've been here 40 years, and I helped write the 1989 general plan. And I just hate to see all that. We fought so hard against the county to get incorporated, and now it's the state doing the same thing the county was doing to us, only about 10 times as bad. So anything you have in the way of plans to try to fight this stuff and try to make the city, how would you make the city more effective in that battle? I think that's the real message you guys can bring.
Oh,
John,
I would,
can you, oh, sorry, it's real
Sorry.
quick. John, can you explain SB 1150 at
1120.
surface level?
Yeah, so this is actually what I'll do. I'll post a link. I've got a really nice spreadsheet. Last night I was on the call with Nix the Nine, which is a Livable California spinoff. That's how I met these people. And now it's Nix the 8 or 7.6. But 1120 is one of these that allows like 4 residences on every single family lot. And if you have a city that allows ADUs, then I guess that doubles to 8. That's still being debated, but apparently that's what happens. It's the worst of the bunch. It's the big grant. It's basically son of SB 50 from last year. I mean, it's a hydra. You cut off SB 50 and they made 9 tentacles. But this is probably the most glaring of the bunch, and it comes up to assembly vote. It passed through the Senate, and it got past our gatekeeper. Pat Bates is usually wonderful at stopping this stuff, and it was on consent calendar in the Senate, and so it sneaked through on unanimous on consent calendar. So the Senate just let it through, so our last gasp now is having the Assembly block it.
I do want to add something that, so I think what we can do, John, so we're all members of Livable. We're all members actually of a separate working group of 14 electeds. Even though we're not elected, we were let into the group to actually do some of the work, which is really great. But we can be signing on officially with these other cities. Encinitas is absolutely silent on this. In fact, just last week, we gave up even, we gave up even more local control when our city, when they finally did decide to weigh in, this council supported a bill that removes more local control by reducing the on-site parking requirements. Oh, go ahead.
Also, John, to simplify, if anyone joined late, what that bill would do, wherever you are in your home right now, if you look to the house next door to you, that house could sell to a developer or to anybody, and they could divide it up into 4 apartments. And actually, each of those 4 apartments become a separate party or property. They actually subdivide the lot into 4 lots. Yes, they'd be tiny. And each one of those lots can have its own ADU, regardless of parking, regardless of lot lines and setbacks. All those go away. This one is really bad. This is the one that's the neighborhood game changer. It will change your neighborhood, because what will happen is developers will come in and start scooping up homes, because 1 home, 4 homes plus 4 ADUs, 8 units is much more valuable to sell them off 1 or 2 at a time than a single family home. So SB 1150 is, John,
1120.
1120.
I wrote 1150 when he said it, yes.
I know.
I see Leah has a question.
Yeah, Leah's asking her. Hi, Leah.
Hold on, Leah. Let me unmute you here. Leah.
You have to unmute.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
First, I want to thank John for speaking up on that. John and I were both on the Environmental Commission together, and I know he's a very committed member of the community. So thank you, John, for being active in this. And then I wanted to follow up on that. I know we both have strong feelings about environmentalism. This is a very environmental community. And our city council, in my opinion, at the moment, has really misused that, and in many ways played to pretend environmentalism, tiny things instead of the important big things. But that's my opinion. I want to know what you guys think and why you are good environmental candidates for what really is a very strong environmental city.
Thank you, Leah. Thanks, John.
Yeah, I mean, as a surfer, I want to have clean water. I want to have clean air and clean streets, and bringing more and more people here when every month we're told by the various utilities to conserve more and more. It doesn't make sense to me. And congestion and lower quality of life is not a better environment. for us or the environment at large.
We see illegal runoff. There's runoff. Julie brought this to my attention on the streetscape plan that there would be unfiltered water going directly into Bataquitas Lagoon that's already compromised according to the Bataquitas Foundation. I know down the street from me, the high density project was in Jimenez Estates, despite promises by the city. You may have seen me show the horror show of flooding that has increased from this illegal runoff. It is illegal runoff from this property, and it's actually headed down the street, headed for the 101, headed for the bluffs, headed for the beach, completely untreated. So I see all these approvals happening without the real work behind it, the real protective work behind it for the environment.
One example of really good environmental stewardship is San Alejo Lagoon. They have really turned it around. I don't know if you guys have been down there in a while, but the amount of wildlife there, it's like a National Geographic episode. You have to go down there and check it out. They've cleaned it. They put a bunch of scientists on it and actually came up with a long-term plan. They got a lot of the money from the Caltrans upgrades to all the freeway in a mitigation effort. And it's just amazing. And that type of thing can happen. We need that in Bataquitos. I think the Bataquitos Lagoon Foundation is working on a long-term plan for that. But absolutely, I mean, we need our streets to not have runoff. We need our oceans to be pristine. The last red tide was evidence of that. How long did that last? Like 3 weeks?
Weeks.
Weeks. It was terrible. So no, my daughters surf, I paddleboard, I ride my bike. I want clean air as much or more as the next person. The last thing I want is a polluting car or a smokestack or polluted water running off anywhere. And right now this council doesn't, they say they're environmentalists, but their actions don't say that. And that's why I just see it differently. If you're going to be an environmentalist, then do the environmentally right thing over and over. When nobody's looking, just do it.
And that leads into, I think that's a good lead into Julie Grabai's question, which is, what is your position on other areas of open space? I know that, and you should probably maybe cover again what's happened to our open space fund.
Go ahead, Alex. You just
He's the resident expert.
Yeah, well, it's kind of had a long story. It was created, I believe, in 17, and the money came from developer fees to preserve open space. We put money into it from the general fund. It was renamed. They took the money out. They created 2 funds again. But the bottom line is, we don't have, with the value of land in this area, we don't have enough money. So we really need to start getting creative. And I think we have to start working to seek funds, whether it's state, national, create maybe public-private partnerships with preservation groups, and really make a strong push to get the last of our open space before it's too late.
Also, I'll add in on that. This is the fear. And I'm sorry, but I am campaigning. So obviously I'm going to say things like this. If this council stays in and has a 5-0 majority again, number one, that open space fund is going to be deleted again. They just reinstated it because we've been putting so much pressure on them about this. It's all, the money's going to go back over to Streetscape, which they moved it to and just brought it back in. That's number one. Number two, think about if the state of California gets some of these bills through and we have open space just sitting there ripe for the picking. If you don't have a council majority like the 3 of us who believe in open space in a deep and fundamental way, believe in less congested living, believe in affordable housing that's truly affordable and doesn't ruin the city to get it, then that whatever open space gets bought is going to go right into some giant apartment building. I believe that. There's nothing to prove it. I believe it fundamentally deep in my heart. It's just everything they do points to that.
Anybody else?
I'd just like to add, I've lived in Southern California my whole life, and like someone else said, living here in Encinitas, I've never seen so much wildlife I've had a great blue heron land in my backyard.
Yay, I love that.
I've
have
seen
to.
I guess that meant I was overdoing mowing the lawn, but woodpecker right across the street. We've got our local, skunks and possums and raccoons,
Yeah.
and saw a pretty cool roadrunner up on Skyloft Bluff. I've never seen a roadrunner that close to the coast. The ospreys are making a huge comeback.
They are.
It's a really magical place to be, and we really need to hold on to that.
Mhm. Thank you for saying all that. I agree. And don't forget the snakes, Alex,
And yeah, luckily I don't see too many snakes in my neighborhood.
but we need them.
And Neil has volunteered that there was a skunk this morning at the Moonlight Beach volleyball
Oh.
court.
That was fun.
I would like to just let the folks know, you don't have to have a question. If you just have a statement you want to make or something you want us to know, just go for it. Doesn't have to be perfectly, yeah.
Please don't be shy. I see a few of you out there that I know, and don't make me come after you personally. Okay, so I have a little bit more of a serious question, and I'm not sure if the gentleman wants me to state his name, so I won't. So, and Julie, this is geared towards you, and I think very viable. Lots of local people, mostly opponents, are calling you a Republican and say that you will support Trump. And though this may not be true, it's out there. And how are you going to respond to that?
Gosh, Cindy, I respond to it all day long. Let me tell you something about the other side. They're good. They got into power years ago, and they've done it to the whole county, and it's because they're good. They know what they're doing. They know how to do the messaging. They've got the media. They've got all the extra little subgroups, even the ones that say they're environmental groups but really aren't anymore. They've been taken over. So here's what they've been doing. It's very clever, and I just don't have the media behind me to do it back. They've been telling everybody that I'm a Republican, I'm a Trumper, and by the way, for the record, I just want to go down. I think we should all take bets. I think the first mailer from the other side or from the PAC that's supporting my opponent, I've already decided that they're probably going to have a picture of me and Trump naked in bed together. I don't know. They're going to come up with something like that. So every single day, I say the same thing. I'm an independent. I love being an independent. It feels so good here. Why? Because you can shut out all the noise. I don't have to hate anyone. I don't have to try to talk anybody into anything. When I switched to being independent, it allowed me to take all that away and just think about my city, my country, and my vote and how it has the most power. That's not the right word. Sorry, I just drew a blank on that. But they're going to keep trying to pin it on me. That's what they do. I took a picture. By the way, I'll tell everybody here, I went to a Republican women's luncheon. And at the end, ended up in a photo with some other ladies, and we didn't have our masks on because we had just been served food and nobody had a mask on. So they went crazy about it. I'm sure most of you have seen it. And what they don't tell anybody is I'm not welcome at Democrat luncheons. I wasn't welcome at the Republican luncheon. They told me I could come, but I wasn't allowed to talk. So I sat there like this, and I, slipped in my business cards to everybody, because guess what? I don't have a party. So the Democrats, the Democratic Party is not going to support me. So if I want to win election and I want to change the course of Encinitas, I have to go hard for the Republicans and the independents to win. That's a strategic move, and I won't offer any apologies for that. The Republicans are good people. The independents are good people. The Democrats are good people. I don't live in that world of hate, and if you don't hate someone as bad as I do, then you can't be on my side. I'm just not like that. So I hope my message can get out, and I hope they'll fumble somehow.
I'm on the other side from Julie. I was a lifelong Dem, and I left the party a few years ago when I didn't like the direction that was, in San Diego, and especially with the of the party, especially with housing and joining the bandwagon of calling affordable housing affordable, knowing it wasn't. I think that's really cynical and really deceptive, and I wanted no part of it. So I joined the no party preference, I think 4 years ago. I may have hopped in and out to vote in a primary or two, but I am no party preference firmly committed. And it's actually the largest growing group, I think, countrywide. Independents are up to 40 to 45% as of the electorate. And it's a good place to be. It really, it feels good to me. I don't owe anybody anything. I don't owe any kind of agenda to anyone. It's what's right for our city. And I know this is election time, but that's what I truly feel anyway. That's what I've been doing for 15 years. That's what I would continue to do.
Alex, any thoughts?
Alex.
Yeah, I've been a long time independent, more than a decade. My job as a first responder, my job was to help everybody, solve problems for everybody, save lives to the best of my ability. And I didn't look at anyone and say, gee, I wonder if that's a Democrat with his arm out. We just didn't think that way. It was completely politically agnostic. And people would sometimes try to get us to make statements on how we felt about this issue or that issue that came through the city over the years. But that was a complete distraction from our job. And I feel the same way on the city council. Our job is to help the citizens of Encinitas. There should only be one party at this level. It's the Encinitas party. If you're talking about things going on in Washington, D.C., you're probably taking the eye off the ball, what's going on right here in our neighborhoods. The only thing I want to know about from the federal government is how much money they're going to give us to fix our problems. And that's it. We got to work with everybody, and people that want to work with us, I'll work with them.
Absolutely.
Well said.
Here, here. Thank you. Steve,
I
I'm
saw-
going to,
I
oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I have somebody with a question, but go ahead.
I saw a question from Dave Hutchison about term limits. What do you guys think about that, Susan and Alex?
Absolutely, absolutely. Right now, 4 years is feeling like a really long time, and I'm going to work really hard then, but I may be really done by then. So I have no problem with it. I have nowhere else I'm going, but back home to enjoy my life afterwards. So absolutely, I have no aspirations to anything other than Encinitas, City
Alex?
Encinitas.
Yeah, I feel the same way. This isn't a new career move for me. This is a chance to continue serving the public, and I don't intend to do it as a long time thing. I'm not looking to take the next step, either the county or the state or anything like that. I want to get our town back on course, set in the right direction, and then I'm happy to go back to my semi-retirement, honestly.
Well, I like to say, since none of my daughters are around right now, I can say this, that as soon as one of them settles down finally, I have four, by the way, everyone, I have 4 adult daughters. They've all been through college, but nobody is married or has kids yet. They're still, in fact, they're all camping right now with their dad without me. I feel like as soon as one of them gets married and settles down and there's babies, I won't want to run anymore. I'll be happy to just do that. But as far as term limits, that's a good question though. It's not just how long do we want to be in office, it's what's best for Encinitas. Should we limit how long somebody can serve? There's an argument on both sides of that. There's an argument that it's natural to have term limits with the public, where the public is the term limit machine and decides when someone's done serving. But if the politician owns the media and the press, then the public's kind of shut out of that equation. So I don't know. Personally, I think it would be a good thing to put out for a vote if the city of Encinitas, if residents would want that.
Thank you, Julie. I'm gonna go to Steve, and Steve, you can unmute yourself now, I think. Yes.
Hi, I think, am I unmuted?
You
Yes.
are unmuted.
Okay, great. First, I want to say thank you to everyone for jumping in here at a time that we need this so badly to change the direction here. I've been living here with my family for 40 years, and the changes that we've seen in the last 10, but especially the last 5, have shocked us in terms of our lifestyle and the reasons that we came to the community. So thank you for working hard. And I know that, you know, you're all not professional politicians, and this has got to be difficult for you. But, you know, what you're up against a fairly organized machine. What do you need, or how are you going to structure to enable yourselves to defeat that? Because you're really up against a machine.
Yeah. No, we are up against the machine. And I think if people agree with us and people like what they hear, tell your neighbors, tell the 5 houses on either side of you, tell the 10 people across the street from you, ask us for signs, help us place signs. It's basically just getting the word out. You know, if you see a newsletter from one of us that you like, push it out to everyone on your list, to forward it and just say, you know, sorry if you're getting this a second time, because we don't have everyone on our list. Certainly, you know, I have about 1/3 of my district on my mailing list. So I think it's just resident to resident talking that's most important, because we can tell you all day our ideas, but it's you guys being the ambassadors because you believe in us, and then you're telling people who trust you as well.
And I'm going to step in here a second. Folks, they need money. They're not going to ask you for it, but I'm telling you, they need money. They need to
Well,
put
if
their
we were
signs up.
better, if we were more seasoned politicians would be asking for it, but.
I ask for money for a living, so I'm not shy. They need your contributions. $250 maximum per person.
Yes.
I've contributed. Use some door-to-door handout work. If you don't have their signs, get on their website and ask for one. I can't fit any more signs, otherwise I would ask for more. But yeah, anything that you can do, because this is truly grassroots.
Thank you, Cindy. And you're right on about signs. By the way, if you requested a sign and haven't got it yet, it's because we simply can't keep up. I think everyone's probably noticed how many of my signs are out there. So that bodes really well for my campaign, I think.
Yeah. All right.
I just want to say real quick, Steve, that I appreciate your question. That I've recently met several people that have reached the point where they think they might need to move. And I don't want that to happen to our town. That's a horrible thing, that we all came here to thrive and to raise our families and feel safe. And if we're feeling that much pressure that we might have to upend all that, that's not right at all. So we'll come to you and meet all your neighbors outside, and we'll spread the word that way, just person to person.
Thanks,
I'm so happy to hear there's a shortage of Julie signs.
I ordered more.
I'm going to ask Kyle to step up, and okay, there you go.
Yeah, hi, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Perfect. So I'm sure you guys saw the latest update on the 6 housing element. And, you know, I know Susan's pointed this out before, but the inventory of low-income housing is pretty much gone at this point. So it's probably looking the next year, there's going to be some more upzoning required to meet the no net loss requirements. So I'm just wondering what you guys would do to tackle that, or to come up with that additional inventory.
I can go first because I always do on this issue. Yeah, it's having the minimum impact possible. It's not having, people have heard me say this before, it's not counting developers as stakeholders. It's counting the state and the residents, period. I would put it to a vote. None of this dismantle Prop A nonsense, because honestly, Prop A vote is not the problem. The giant overblown plans are the problem. And we've given away more in Measure T, it was the first try, and Measure U again, given away more than what the state was asking for, which is why those plans went down in flames. So go with the minimum the state's asking for. Get the best, the largest setbacks you can, the lowest heights possible. Peter Stern from Cardiff, a retired attorney, did a lot of research, came up with proofs of concept for 2-story low impact housing that could be spread throughout the city, not concentrated on one corner where you're going to have thousands, hundreds and thousands of cars coming off just that lot every day. Because when people say, oh, hey, this would be a good spot for 200 units, not really if you think about the cars coming, you know, on and off that property. So, and we've had the city consulting attorney who is still on retainer here, she's wonderful. She's the state expert in housing. She has actually said, I bet HCD could go for that. They might go for that. Let's ask them. Why don't you push back? That didn't happen. So that's what I would be doing, pushing back hard, making as low an impact as I possibly could.
And then I guess one other question is, I've seen some comments online where people have some creative solutions regarding maybe like rezoning some commercial space and things like that. Is that on the table for this year, or is that something that actually has to have a bunch of legal changes happen before that can?
Kyle, my thoughts on that are that everything should be on the table. Done, period. Everything should be on the table. And when our mayor was telling us 2 years ago that we could only pick open space to put these projects on, I'm sorry, wouldn't you march into HCD and say not no, but hell no? You're not going to destroy our town. There's other ways to do it in other cities. It's amazing the creative solutions that are happening in other cities. Just like you said, taking like big box stores that are gone and carving them up into an apartment complex. There's developers that would jump on that. Not only that, go ahead.
There are a lot, I was just going to say, a lot of cities are actually talking about exactly that, Kyle. Repurposing empty buildings. The businesses are never coming back. And then you're not like adding, right? So.
Now, also, we can look at doing affordable, a much higher percentage of affordable, so we can get to the numbers much quicker, and we can do smaller units. I mean, a really nice man recently brought a model of how to do affordable in smaller complexes, and those could be peppered throughout the city so you don't impact any one area. And I know there's an argument that you have to mix affordable units for lower income with market rate units because it's more fair. But I don't, who says that? I don't know. I'm not an expert in social engineering, but I would like to learn more about that. And I think other cities, I would go to other cities and learn what they're doing and how they're getting around some of these outrageous rules from the state.
Yeah, I think there's room to negotiate, to lower our numbers to more realistic for the capacity of the city. You know, going just from R30 to R20 would be a huge step in the right direction. We get rolled up in the same ball as San Diego. We're called an urban area. We're not an urban area. Other towns have gotten dispensations in Northern California to not be called urban areas because they aren't, and we aren't either. So I'd like to see a good effort to renegotiate with the state. If they're still completely inflexible, that they don't want to hear creative solutions, then yeah, we might have to go the Coronado route because we're a lot like Coronado. We're surrounded by water on 3 sides. We don't have much more room we can't expand out, and we're almost built out. So it's going to take a combination of different efforts and more creative ones.
I actually have my own question to that, and Neil, I'm going to get to you, but is it possible that multiple cities like Coronado and Encinitas and other cities that are feeling the pinch with all of these state mandated density laws, can't they gather together to fight the state? Is that a possibility, partnering?
That's happening right now, but we're not part of it. Our city chose to be a part of the other side, to accept it.
Our hands are tied.
Yeah, our hands are tied. We couldn't do anything. We had to sue the residents. We had to reverse your vote with Measure U. No judge said to do that. There was never a judge that said you have to sue the residents of your city. No judge said, dear Encinitas, you have to be the first city in the history of this state to file a lawsuit against your residents. That never happened. You'll keep hearing it happen. It never happened. I know people that were there.
Elsewhere, you mean? It happened here. Yeah.
Sorry, it happened here. Sorry. God. Yeah, I get a little teed up on that. Our city should be really frustrated. Those "My Mayor Sued Me" signs are helping that word get out. Whoever came up with those, I think, was a genius.
Yeah, our first responsibility is to our neighborhoods and our community and our city first. That's it. We need to do what's best for this community, and we can't take all the heavy lifting. We're not Andre the Giant. We're Bruce Lee, and it's got to be more reasonable.
I'm going to get to Neil, who's been patiently waiting. And Neil, you're up.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy. And by the way, you're doing a great job as a moderator. I think
thank
we all
you.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
I've been here a long time, since before Encinitas was a city. I've known every mayor. And until this mayor and this administration, I never felt like we were part of some national political agenda. And people had their opinions and their leanings, that's fine. But our prior mayors and city councils focused more on the city of Encinitas. And I think you guys hit a really good theme earlier when you were talking about it. I think Alex really verbalized it well, that I suspect a lot of residents really want our mayor and city council to focus on the city. There are a lot of big issues around the world. We're not going to solve them all. Maybe incrementally we can do something. But the fact is, we're electing a local city council in a town of 63,000 to represent the city and to take care of the city. And, the current administration they're fundraising for national and state offices and all that. And, I don't care about that. That's not why I voted for them. Maybe I'm alone, but that's how I feel. And I suspect some other people feel that way.
Here, here.
I agree, Neil. Thank you for that. I think it's interesting that you talk about the beginning of our town, and it's like we've come full circle where once again we're fighting for local control. I almost felt like we should make a banner that says "Spirit of '86" from when the city first became our own town.
That's a great idea, Alex. I might do that tonight. On
Love
my
it.
graphics. Can I share a comment that I found on the side that was really interesting from Donna De Benedetto? Hi, Donna. She said, what's really ironic is that our former, quote, Republican councils, I'll skip, were fully aligned with developers. Now this more liberal council, backed by lots of Dems, are pro-builder. Senseless to tack party politics at this local level. Donna, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to use that. You just said that really well, and it makes a lot of sense. Just take the partisanship out of it and focus on Encinitas, like Neil just said.
And on the 86 theme, I'm just reading John Eldon's. I always forget about that, but it's so good. Bob Bundy had in 1986 when we incorporated, got away from the county for a reason. Don't tread on me was the motto.
Mm-hmm.
For Encinitas.
And a good one.
There's a question from, where is it? Dave Hutchinson on Pacific View School.
Yes. Yes. Let me ask it. So he didn't raise his hands. I don't know if he's might be mobile. So he wanted to ask if anybody had any ideas of what to do with the Pacific View school site.
Can I jump in? Dave, are you able to come on and turn your mute off?
Where is he? Hold on.
There he is.
Just unmuted.
Oh, he is. There you go. Go ahead, Dave.
Does that work?
Yeah, you're there.
Yeah.
Well,
So Dave, weren't you around? Weren't you pretty kind of a part of that Pacific View, or you were pretty involved? Were you on the commission or something?
yeah, the Pacific View topic is something that's always stuck in my craw because I was involved in the beginning, not involved technically, but I got involved when the school district decided they wanted to sell that, if you all remember. And they invited bids to purchase that property. And the city stepped up, if I recall, and offered her $10 million, and there were no other bidders. And was it 10 million?
It was 10.5. Yep.
Yeah. And at the time, Catherine was running for mayor, and with a couple of the other fellows I was involved with that had served in the ERAC committee, we were trying to understand her position and what she would do with that school. And she used to have as a sidekick her father, who was a developer, John, a really nice guy. He had toured me around town and showed me properties that they owned or had developed. And we figured that the apple wouldn't fall too far from the tree, and that she would be opposed to the city buying that property. Well, we know the rest of the story. She was, and she was for the city owning that property. And I put some numbers together. I come from the development background, and I put some numbers together at Kristen Gaspar's request. How would a developer look at that site and the price that the city was paying, which then geometrically increased because at first they tried to get tax-free bond funding, I believe. Then the attorney said, no, you can't do that. So let's go with taxable bonding. So I totaled up what those numbers were on just the purchase price. And let's remember I think the appraisal, there were two appraisals around 3,400,000, 3,700,000.
Right.
Yeah. And so where was I going with that? I looked at it as a developer would look at that site. Okay, here's the purchase price. What are we into that? 5 years now, 5 or 6 years, I believe, with the debt service that's
6 years, yep.
And then I looked at the site from a development standpoint. Okay, how many net usable acres do I have there as a developer if I was going to build any kind of a project? Well, the council and Catherine at the time loved to talk about the wonderful view property that they had. It was like they were wiping out the 7 houses that are along the alley. And by the way, city, that those houses in that alley would have to become 4th Street. And so that's not that usable property that's part of the school site, nor are the hills, the slopes on the east and the south side. A developer will be quick to tell you, you have to step back from the top of those slopes. Well, I ended up with a net usable 1.7 acres out of, I remember, like 2.5 acres gross at one time. And I don't know that my memory is all that accurate with these numbers I'm representing right now, but it was something like that. So I took the net usable square footage of the property that a developer could use, build something on, and plugged that into the purchase price and all the interest that was paid with those bonds. And I came up with about $85 a square foot. And that was comparable at the time to buying a piece of property downtown San Diego where I could build 25 stories.
Wow.
Something that was that radical. And that has bothered me to no end ever since then. And I walk by that frequently, that site, and I just get so irritated to see it sitting there, thinking of the various uses, not the least of which could be a parking garage for the downtown merchants. And there are other proposals too.
Well, and Dave, just to jump in, we've seen some proposals lately from citizens who have come forward, and they do have to do with the original intention and an arts center, not a wedding center or anything else that it blew up into after the city purchased it, and all of a sudden they got away from the arts concept. But I definitely think it should be for the community. So that should be a good public discussion. I think so. I think we're 4 minutes, huh, Cindy?
Right. We've got a few more minutes, and I have a couple of questions that got sent to me. Thank you, David. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dave.
Can I ask Dave a question?
Yes.
Just to follow up. This is the most I've ever had someone to talk to that had actually a good memory of what happened. Dave, I certainly wouldn't want it to see that be developed into like a 20-story high-rise, but I feel like, and I just wonder your thoughts on this. There's nothing going on there. They're not even weeding it. It just looks, it's a terrible eyesore. I feel bad for the neighbors that live right there and have to look at it every day. I feel like the current council might be just sitting on it, waiting to turn it into affordable housing. And I know that's a bold accusation, but the board of that arts board that they created suddenly has 2 or 3 developers on it. It was this arts coalition board that was trying to turn it into create the arts thing that was going to happen there. And all of a sudden now there's 2 or 3 developers on it. Do you know anything about that, Dave?
No, it's first I've heard of that, but I think it's appropriate that to be alerted to that change and to watch what goes on. Yeah.
Oh, I would never vote for that. That just wouldn't make sense to put to put a big apartment complex there.
No.
Okay, folks. Yes, thank you, David. I just want to ask, since we have a couple of more questions, I had a couple more minutes. I had somebody message me privately. And these are the two questions. What are ways to enhance citizen participation? And as citizen advocates yourself, how would you rate the current council in terms of their willingness to listen? I thought we'd end with a bang here.
Well, actually, we have our resident expert who's not one of us three. I won't put her on the spot, Julie Graboy, but she knows well the thousands and thousands of unprocessed surveys from a housing plan that went forward, I want to say 5 or 6 years ago. You can't just give lip service to wanting to hear from people. And you know what? If they give you answers that differ from the vision you have in mind, too bad, you've got to go with the people. So, you know, this false signaling where we want to hear from you, and then, you know, it's kind of like Lucy with the football. It gets pulled out the minute Charlie Brown runs up to kick it. That's no way to treat your.
Susan, our current council already knows what they want.
Yeah.
Before any of those community participation programs are held. They have a predetermined thing. We saw it in Cardiff with our huge issue. They already knew what they want. I was at all the meetings. I saw how they went down. Then I'd go to council meetings and they would describe it the complete opposite of what I just watched happen. So I've seen it since over and over.
Yeah, I just would like to see, there's so many ways we can have back and forth now with technology. You know, we can send out surveys to everyone in the city by email. We could have more town halls. We could have town halls through Zoom. We should have more shorter city council meetings for sure, and give people more notice before so they can be alerted to what's going on in the town, because usually we find out when it's too late. So just increasing communication and also communicating with our constituents after the fact as well. Explain ourselves and keep them apprised of what's coming.
You know what, Alex and Susan, what I think would be really neat, I've been thinking about this. I don't even know if it's possible. Maybe someone on this call would have a comment, and then I know we have to go, so I'm sorry, maybe this is the last thing, is going forward when we imagine the three of us get into office and then we're able to have regular old school city council meetings, why not still allow people to call in via Zoom?
Sure.
I mean, can you imagine, you know, someone who's home not feeling well or has is caring for an elderly person or for an infant to be able to call in and give their comments? I think would be awesome. I'd be interested in that.
Yeah, anybody with mobility issues is basically not allowed to participate right now.
You know, it amazes me that meetings, you know, like sometimes those meetings have gone for so long because so many people are, but so many people are commenting and are against what they're about to do. And then she just bangs the gavel and goes, okay, we're doing what we decided.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the time, Steve, right?
Yes.
It sounds familiar.
So
Well,
I would just say, I know you're going to wrap up, Susan, but for everybody on this call that supports us, I know not everybody does, but for those of you that do, we need help. We don't have a party backing us up. We don't have a media. You saw that article written in Coast News about my comments, comparing the Zoom calls. It described a situation that didn't happen at all. So we need help. So if anybody could invite us to a meet and greet and introduce us to your neighbors or forward our emails like Susan said, we need the help. And I think we can do it. You've seen the signs out there. I think we have a good shot at this, but we need some help. Thanks. Go ahead, Cindy.
Yeah, I was going to say, and if you've all enjoyed the format, let us know, spread the word, tell your friends, let them know what you've learned. If you want to do a Q&A as we get closer to election, I'm sure we'll do it again. There's been talk of having some debates with the opponents, maybe inviting them on board. Maybe that could happen as well. We're open to suggestions. We want to hear from you. We want to see you again next week and the weeks after. And we're going to wrap it up. Thank you again so much for coming. Really enjoyed everything myself. And hope you did as well. And we'll see you again same time next week. Oh, one last thing. We have a YouTube channel, Encinitas Viewpoint, and all of the meetings get posted there. So if you want to recap, come and visit, and you'll be able to see us there as well. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, everyone. Have a great
Thank
night.
you.
Everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.